Today I will speak about a special band from Finland, a special melodeath band, Children of BODOM. Also, we don't know if they will continue to be a band. Until now, they split up in 2020, in this year that we're speaking about. Alexi Laiho made a new band by the name BODOM After Midnight. He took the name of today I will speak about a very special band from Finland, one of the most important melodeath bands, Finnish melodeath bands. I'm speaking about Children of BODOM. And we know that Children of BODOM, it was a band of their mastermind, especially Alexi Wildside Laiho, and they started in 1993, and today they split up. And in any case, Laiho made in 2020, in this year, he made another band by the name BODOM After Midnight. He took the name from one of the songs, the second song of the third album, Follow the Reaper. So, if we have to speak about Children of BODOM, and we have to say that in these years when they started, melodeath was one of the most important things inside the metal Swedish scene. We had from there bands as At the Gates, In Flames, Dark Tranquility, Arch Enemy, and afterwards Children of BODOM, they came and they said, oh, you know something, melodeath also, it could be also good, and would be from Finland. Today we have also Insomnium and so many other bands also from Finland inside the melodeath sound. But Children of BODOM, they were one of the first Finnish bands that they started to play in this sound. Not only that, but Children of BODOM always they put inside their melodeath also other elements. In the beginning they had elements from power metal, afterwards they had elements from thrash metal, from gothic metal also. Okay, so I will try to make to rank their albums from worst to best, their 10 studio albums, and let's start in my point of view. Also, their first name of the band was In Earth, before they took the name Children of BODOM, from the Lake BODOM, the whole story, and the murderers that were there in the Lake BODOM in Finland. So let's start. In the 10th place for me comes the album Blood Drunk of 2008. And one of the problems of Children of BODOM is that they became slaves, let's say, enslaved, okay, inside their own sound. Okay, we love bands that they're playing the same style, but with a good way. For example, everybody likes Motorhead, everybody likes AC/DC, but we know what we have to expect. From the other hand, there are some bands that they changed so much. For example, Tiamat, Anathema, Amorphis, Enslaved, Ulver. There are some of the names, even Opeth, In Flames, some of the names of bands that changed their sound very much. And there were always people that like it more, like it less. But there are also other bands that they didn't change their sound, but they became let's say as a caricature of their sound. They play the same way, but with not good way, unfortunately. And Children of BODOM, together with Rhapsody of Fire from Italy or Hammerfall from Sweden, they had this problem, in my point of view. So in this album, they play a little bit the same. Now, in the ninth place, their album, one before their last album, I'm speaking about I Worship Chaos, their ninth album of 2015. Here we have 2 or 3 good songs, but in general, it's a little bit like Blunt Drunk. But in any case, because of these 2 songs or 3 songs, I prefer it a little bit from Blood Drunk. In the 8th place, their last album of 2019, and speaking about Hexed, if I prefer it well, their last album, and this is a very good album, in my point of view, even a little bit more melodic. And some people, they said that this was the most melodic album of them, and this was also their last album. Maybe we will, maybe what we have to expect about BODOM After Midnight, maybe about the band BODOM After Midnight, maybe it will be something like that. Now, in the 7th place, the 7th album of 2011, I'm speaking about Relentless Reckless Forever. For me, this is also a very good album, and I like it when it came out. The next album, the 6th album, for me, their 8th album, Hollow of Blood of 2013, also a very, very, very good album, in my point of view. Now, 5th place with their 5th also album of 2005, Are You Dead Yet? When this album came out, I didn't like it. There were also many people that didn't like it. It was a little bit more thrashy. But today, after so many years, I can say that also it was a very good album. And now their 4 last albums, for me, these are the great albums of Children of Bodom. Now, in the 4th place, and I know there will be people that will put this album in the 1st place and prefer it even more. I'm speaking about the 3rd album of 2000 with the Millennium, Follow the Reaper. And I know many people like this album so much because they started to listen to the band from this album and afterwards. For me, it was a little bit more melodic from the first 2 albums, and for this reason I put it in this place. Their 3rd album, in the 3rd place, I will put their 2nd album, Hate Breeder of 1999, also a very good album for me, and continues the way of the debut, a very, very good album. Now, 2nd place, their 4th album. Their 4th album of 2003, Hate Crew Death Roll. And Children of Bodom, they made a big difference, especially in this album. Afterwards, they became even more melodic with Follow the Reaper. They came and made in this album a sound that it listens even more thrashy. And as someone that I like so much thrash metal, I like this album. I liked it very, very, very much. And even we can here listen even things from not only melodeath, but also influences from death metal. And in the 1st place, their masterpiece, in my point of view, their first debut album, Something Wild. In some countries it came out in 1997, in some countries in 1998, but it was so good, so good. In this album, Children of Bodom, and I started to listen to them by this album, by their first album. In this album, they have here influences from power metal, from melodeath, and also from black metal. The way that Alexi Wildside Laiho sings here is very close to black metal, and they made it with a so good way. For me, this is their mastermind. So from Israel and from Jerusalem, stay metal, stay heavy, and until now, stay home.